because of that, we've always seen Africa countries as our brothers, and we had to take precaution when taking decisions that will affect them. So it is true that a democratically elected government was overthrown. The president of Niger, Bazoum, was overthrown. And that was a matter that they had to look at immediately to take measures that will lead to the restoration of that democratic process. But then, when he came in, there was not enough time to look at the opinion, the preponderance of opinion on Nigerians, especially those that matter in the foreign policy avenue, so that the right decision will be taken that will not affect Nigeria. We know Niger is a critical neighbor of Nigeria. And in the northern region, most of the citizens of both countries, it is difficult to distinguish citizens of the far northern Nigerian states, especially Katsina and Sokoto, where are neighboring Niger, and those of Nigerians. So it is very difficult. That border, I would say, is a very porous border. People move to come back to Nigeria as if they are just moving into Kano. So Nigeria had to take a critical look into that relationship. Otherwise, a lot of things would have happened. And I would say that it was a hasty decision. But Tinubu's hands were tied because as the president of, the chairman of ECOWAS, he had to take a decision that was the majority opinion of the ECOWAS leaders. So he took the decision. But I'm very happy that now that decision had been rescinded and they have to reopen borders with Nigeria. To some extent, it has both positive and negative implications on especially the internal security of Nigeria.
Yes, as we go along, we'll look at the pros and cons. Let me come back to the same aspect of the foreign policy. Beyond the immediate of these three countries that are in the spotlight, that is Niger, Burkina Faso, with Tinubu as the chairman of ECOWAS, do you see Nigeria performing its role in the West African sub-region in terms of strengthening its bilateral relations with other countries within the West African sub-region?
Yeah, I see that. Although there are a lot of challenges that Nigeria will face in doing that, but as the most influential country in the sub-region, Nigeria's influence will actually impact on the regional affairs of ECOWAS. Because you will note that 1 out of every West African is a Nigerian. The population of Nigeria is enormous. These other 14 countries that make up ECOWAS are very small countries. Their population in terms of population, economy, and other political strength are not up to the strength of that of Nigeria. And so with President Tinubu at the throne, a lot of things can be done in terms of impacting our own influence on the sub-region.
Okay, because Nigeria is seen as the big brother in Africa.
Yes.
It has been thwarted over time. Mm-hmm. So is Nigeria actually living up to expectation in its foreign policy as a big brother on the African continent?
Well, Nigeria's fortunes, especially in terms of living to the expectations of other African countries, as a big brother of Africa, has dwindled significantly. During the era of Mubarak, we know what he did when South Africa was suffering apartheid and when the Mandelas and the rest of them were incarcerated because of their fight to have majority rule in South Africa. We know what Nigeria Nigeria did in Namibia and other African countries, then Nigeria was actually the big brother of the rest of Africa. Their role was impactful, very, very positive in terms of trying to restore dignity and democracy in most of Africa. During the era, the democratic era, we had issues in Liberia, Sierra Leone. Nigeria played a significant role in trying to restore constitutional rule and democracy in these countries. So to that extent, that was what happened. But you know, foreign policy is tied to economic strength. If your economy has dwindled to a level that you will be unable to cope with external pressures, then that affects you significantly. And I know that during the last 10 or so years, Nigeria's economy has dwindled. I'm aware that a few years ago, Nigeria became the poverty capital of Africa. And to that extent, if a country is unable to take care of its own economic, social and economic needs, then it is difficult for it to impact its own will on other countries, because going to other countries needs resources. You have to be seen to be capable of handling issues, in fact, supporting them with resources and other things. So it is not just about pronouncements. It is about using your own resources too. Like in Liberia, when we were prosecuting the Liberian war, Nigeria sent a lot of resources in terms of armory and other things to Liberia. We sent our soldiers, in fact, our Chief of Army Staff then, Lieutenant General Victor Malo, went to Liberia and was there for a long while. This is resources. They use money in doing these things. So a situation where the economy of Nigeria has dwindled, has become so bad, it is difficult for Nigeria to back and bite. It may back, Nigeria may back, but it will be difficult for Nigeria to bite, as it should, like it did in the 70s and 80s. So I would say that Nigeria's influence in trying to stand up as the big brother of Africa may not be as it used to be because of our loss of strength, and in terms of economy, in terms of social and other political issues. Mind you, even in the political scene, we are just trying to gather momentum, because Nigeria, when the presidential election was concluded last year, a lot of legal tussle continued, which almost dampened the morale of the citizens and even the government that was coming in. So they are just trying to take over, to stand by their feet so that they can move on. So I would say that we may, as time goes on, we may be able to come back to our feet when the economy especially also improves. And by the time Tinubu has experiences from all these sectors and is able to understand better how the presidential system is run, then he'll be able to master his courage to take Nigeria to where we are supposed to be within the regional bloc. Not where Tinubu cannot just impact his own way, even as chairman of ECOWAS. It must be the preponderance of opinion or the agreement by the other member countries that he will be able to stand and impact. But in the past, our opinion was always easy to be carried during those because of the strength that we had. We knew that if we said we were going to do this, Nigeria will be the first country to stand up and start pouring resources to handle such issues. But now, because of our internal problems, we have to be careful about it.
Okay, let's go back to the sanctions the ECOWAS as the regional bloc had placed on this Niger, Mali, and Burkina, based on with what we have seen with Niger.
Yeah.
To what extent do you think this now that is in these three countries?
You mean democracy in Niger?
In the West African sub-region.
Okay, no. A way to catch a game. You could set traps. Could maybe so in the instance, they wanted immediately to use the big stick by imposing sanctions. These are policies that maybe we say we have imbibed from the Western democratic setup. Within our sub-region, I am of the opinion that they would have used diplomacy first. It is when diplomacy fails that you use the big stick of imposing sanctions and doing this and that. Obviously, these sanctions didn't work because they were adamant. These three countries, they were adamant. The military juntas in this country, they were adamant about those sanctions. They were just doing their own thing and going as if nothing happened. But it was impacting negatively on ECOWAS because the unity, the peace that we needed for all of these countries to be together, to take decisions that will affect the region, was broken. And you could see discordant voices. And let me also tell you, when you look at the issues that cropped or brought about this coup d'etat in these countries, was almost like the failure of democracy. The citizens felt that democracy failed in their own countries. And that is the preponderance of opinion in most of Africa now, not just the West African region. There is a preponderance of opinion that democracy has failed because democracy is a government that has to take care of the interests of the people. And it appears that democracy is no longer taking care of the interests of the generality of the people. And so the people are feeling tired. You remember there was a time that military rule became obsolete. Military rule became an aberration. Military rule was no longer attractive. Then you could see most of Africa was democratizing their political systems. Most of Africa was democratizing, and that era came to a climax. And then when most of Africa became democratized, you could notice that they started having issues, political and economic issues, because in the views of the generality of the people who took their mandates to take care of the interests of the people forgot about those mandates, and then they started taking care of their own personal interests. And this interest are the issues that have made people to somehow ask questions. Why are we having democracy in the first place when these people are taking care of their interests and they are not taking care of our own poverty, they are not taking care of our own health issues, they are not taking care of education? Most of our graduates have no jobs. Most of our hospitals, nobody can attend to them. These people leave Nigeria to go to other countries. Most of our educational institutions are just a shadow of themselves. Before you have a good graduate, you either go to a private university or you go abroad. So most of our public universities are just there. Public schools are like that. Primary schools are like that. And then you see that the people who took the mandate to take care of these things have somehow forgotten about taking proper care of them, and then what we have is poverty. So the people have somehow lost interest in democracy. That is why in some of these countries, they have resorted in calling back the military to come and restore sanity in the political system. That is what is happening. And so, if this kind of thing happens, then you see that most of the leaders who are democratic leaders, when they take such decisions harshly against the other countries, people don't sympathize with them. And I bet that is why even now, the sanctions could not last for up to a year, and ECOWAS had to reconsider its decision and lift those sanctions. And in a way, Nigeria is one of the most beneficial, the higher beneficiaries of this policy, because it had a strained relationship with Niger, even though what Niger did was not a direct affront to Nigeria. It was their own internal political issue. But then, when when ECOWAS had to sanction, Nigeria was affected. You could look at the security implications between that country and this country, Nigeria and Nigeria, especially when the two leaders are not on the same page. So, I feel that it is a good decision. It is not a bad decision, although it may have some other implications which we may discuss later.
Okay. Why these sanctions subsisted? The three countries, Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso, officially announced they are pulling out of ECOWAS.
Yeah.
Now that the sanctions have been lifted, what are their stakes, either in rejoining the regional bloc or staying aloof, as they had already announced pulling out?
Yes, like I said earlier, when you have to punish, when you have to instill discipline in somebody, sometimes you instill discipline through using corporal punishment. Sometimes you instill discipline through talking to the person, using the soft approach, discussing. I think now that the ECOWAS, which is our umbrella body, has lifted sanctions, it has shown goodwill to these countries, that it is ready for talk. So I am sure that these countries will also listen. They will be able to come to the table, the round table, and it is easier to solve a conflict when we come to the, even when you fight, at the end of the day, it is the round table that you sit and resolve everything. So now that a window has been opened for them to come to the round table and sit with the other ECOWAS member states, I am sure that they will see reason and change their own tactics. And I think by doing that, we'll use diplomatic approach to discuss with them so that they could also set timetable for having in place democratic political systems in their country. But if we allow that, it will be that we're in crisis, and so anything can happen. But now that ECOWAS has shifted its own ground, it has shown an olive leaf. I think, and I believe that these countries too, because in a way, I am sure that they were affected by these sanctions, but they were just trying to be strong. And now that the sanctions have been lifted, I am very sure that they will also come to the round table to sit. And it will be in their best interest to do that. Because we're in a system that, even though it is West Africa, we have the international community who have their different interests. You look at what happened when the French had to take back their ambassador and sever their own diplomatic relations with Niger. That wasn't a very good development. When we have this kind of situations and they are not handled, extra interests come in, and sometimes that is when a lot of damaging things take place. So I'm sure that they will also consider all those things and then come to the table where ECOWAS has offered them so that they can discuss and set things straight. They will restore democracy in their own countries through this process. I'm very sure that it is in their best interest, and they will also listen and come back.
Okay. Dear listener, in case you are just tuning in, you are listening to Perspectives on Agate Radio 95.5 Star FM, Makurdi, Benue State. We are discussing Nigeria's regional diplomacy. And joining us on the program is the founder, Dr. Ray Anumbe Foundation, and a political scientist, Dr. Raymond Anumbe, who is leading us in the discussion here. We are still expecting another discussant who we hope will join us, and as soon as he's here with us, we will let you know. Let's avail you the telephone lines through which you can reach us. The line for text messages and WhatsApp is already activated for you to send in your contributions through text and WhatsApp chat. The line is 09126999404. 09126999404. If you are sending a message, remember to include your name and the location you are sending the contribution. Also, follow our live stream conversation of the program on all our social media platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Once you search us on these platforms, you'll be sure to follow the live stream conversation. You may drop your comments or questions and contributions if you have them on that live stream link. And if they're related to the subject matter, we will take it as your contribution on the program. And at 10 o'clock, we shall open the line for you to call in and make your contributions. The line for calls, once it is 10, is 081 433 59292. 081 433 59292. That line will be available for calls at 10 o'clock. Dr. Numbe, I am back to you.
Okay.
Let's look at the pros and cons of the lifting of the sanctions, especially as it concerns Nigeria, for instance. So far, Nigeria has announced the opening of borders and lifting of all sanctions as it concerns Nigeria and Niger relationship. Give us the pros and cons of it.
Okay, thank you very much. The opening of these borders, especially in terms of its impact on Nigeria, it is, I would describe that as a double-edged sword. It has both advantages and disadvantages. But let's look at the advantages first. The advantages to Nigeria especially. What happened that affected ECOWAS and made ECOWAS to take a stern decision against ECOWAS affected the relationship between Niger and Nigeria. Nigeria and Niger did not have any row, any diplomatic row, as it were. It was a situation where Niger went against the policies of ECOWAS, and they had to be sanctioned. But it affected Nigeria because Nigeria had to close her borders with Niger Republic. And that obviously affected our own relationship too, because we could not have any direct diplomatic relationship with them. Most of the time you could see most of our envoys that went there were not properly received and given diplomatic attention as it's supposed to be. Now the lifting of the sanctions has opened a window for effective diplomatic relationship between Nigeria and Niger. They will resume all their diplomatic activities and every other thing that has been taking place at that level with Niger. So it is an advantage to Nigeria. When you look at the other side of it, the disadvantage, we have had serious internal security problems in this country. This is security challenges that we've had. Even with the closure, there were issues because the people who used the Nigerian route to cross to Nigeria, the illegal aliens that used the Nigerian route, especially those coming from Libya, Mali, and other areas into Nigeria, they were now using routes that probably could not be checked by the security agencies, but they still came in. So I would say that the advantage would be that if Nigeria properly places its own security on alert and at our borders, there will be legitimacy in terms of the people coming from Niger, people coming from other countries, and that could be checked. And if they check that, it will help us to check our own, the influx of unwanted criminal elements that entered our country and are causing a lot of banditry and other insecurity challenges. So that will also be an advantage. The other side will be that some people will take advantage of the opening of these borders to come into Nigeria. They will use their own means to come, appearing as if they were legitimate travelers who are coming to Nigeria, but they will still coming through their means, and the influx will be overwhelming on Nigeria. We know that during the presidential election of 2023, we saw pictures of people who were loaded from lorries from Niger, who came down here to vote, and then they went back. And a lot of things happened in the process. People who are loaded in lorries and trucks and crossing borders to other countries, anything can be brought in. And how are you sure that these people go back safely? I mean, go back, all of them go back. Most of them could be dropped in our cities, and they will cause a lot of security challenges. So that is a disadvantage. And then if Nigeria is trying to check the illegal importation of food, we know we had the food crisis now. If Nigeria is trying to check the illegal importation of food, this could also be a challenge because the borders now opened. All sorts of imports can come from that end.
And even export.
And even export, which will also aggravate the food security situation, because we don't really need to export our food now. In as much as it will bring us foreign exchange, we need it now because there is scarcity of food in this country. So the export will also be allowed because the borders have been opened. Unless if very serious policy statements, policy frameworks are put on ground to check these things, we'll have that problem. Why Niger is so strategic is because it is, even though we have Benin Republic and Cameroon, Niger, to some extent, looks like an extension of Nigeria because of the homogeneous population in the northern parts and that of the Nigerian people. It is difficult to distinguish most of those nationals, the Nigerian and the Nigerians who are on that border. The border between Katsina, Sokoto, and the rest of those countries that border Niger. So that is also a challenge. So when we look at that, we feel that Niger is a very critical border, a neighbor, and a border of Nigeria, a neighbor of Nigeria. That is why we take issues with Niger much, much more seriously than the other countries. So on the whole, having Niger back, probably in quotes, as a friend, will help Nigeria in checking these things. If the Nigerian leadership is serious or is positive about having a good relationship with us in this country. I know that if they also are desirous of that, we will be able to cultivate that relationship to check the insecurity that we have at the border. Especially, that will depend on the approach that Tinubu and his Nigerian military counterpart will look at issues.
Okay, you mentioned how porous our borders are. With the reopening of the Nigeria and the Nigerian border, to what extent do you think the porous nature of the borders will impact on our security back in Nigeria?
Okay, like I said earlier, I said if Nigeria is able to sit on the round table with the junta in Niger, and they are able to discuss security issues, we will be able to cultivate this opening, this relationship now, to our advantage, because they will be able to check. Why I say so is because during the democratic era of the Bazoum leadership, we still had challenges of insecurity. That is, especially people who use the Nigerian route to come down to Nigeria to cause mayhem. I know many of them that are here now, the illegal aliens that are here causing banditry and other things. most of them came through that border. And if we take a positive diplomatic approach with the Nigerian leadership, we'll be able to have a positive curtailment of the insecurity. But on the other hand, if we are not able to establish a good rapport with them, then the situation will be worse, because whatever happens down here will be most negatively impactful to Nigeria. Most of these people are attracted to come down here. They are leaving Mali, they are leaving other northern countries down to Nigeria to come here. Most of them who are coming, to my best interest, to my best knowledge, to occupy, because of the climate change which has devastated those areas. And especially after the demise of the Libyan leader, Gaddafi, and the destruction of that country's political and economic system, most of these fighters felt that the best place to come so that they can have their best foot on ground is Nigeria. So they started coming down here and using the Nigerian route to come down here. So it is both a positive and negative development. But if the leadership decides to use their own wisdom in harvesting that newfound relationship with the Nigerian port, they will be able to cooperate and curtail the influx of elements or actors that could cause serious insecurity in our country. So I think it is both. It depends on how the leadership handles the situation. So both situations can take place. If they handle it positively and the leaders are desirous of having a good relationship with these Nigerian people, then we'll be able to have a better, an advantage, especially in terms of curtailing what will happen between Nigeria and Niger in that border.
Okay, looking at the situation on ground, it is on record that the administration of former President Muhammadu Buhari, with the issue of invasions, at some point had admitted that foreign elements were coming into the country to cause mayhem, issues of banditry and terrorism. And of course, here in Benue State of recent, it has been said, it has been reported widely about influx of armed invaders. With the situation on ground, what is the prospect of Benue with regards to its security situation?
Well, the prospects of Benue's security situation is bleak. It is bleak. And the discussion, or whatever reasons I give now, will still be tied to what we have said before. Benue is part of Nigeria, but Benue is critical in this security situation because it appears Benue is the best point where these people want to take over, to stay. In our own researches, we have seen that, we have made some conclusions that the coming of these people is to take over, to grab land and stay. And it does appear that when they come in, they have some internal collaborators who are also using government policies to help them. So to a large extent, sometimes it appears that, because I say appears because to the eyes of a researcher, we feel that these are the kind of things that are happening, but we are not privy to prove. But when these people come in and certain policies are made, like in the past we had Ruga, it is very funny to go to somebody's community to build houses or build another community for people who are alien to that community. So when you look at this kind of policies, it appears that these people who are coming in are only coming in to assist those who are within this country so that they can take over land across the country. Right now, they are talking of Puluka. Puluka is not a word of the indigenous people of Benue. It is a name of a particular ethnic group in Nigeria. And you are coming to Benue to build a Puluka, that is a settlement that you will bring these people in, people who are not indigenous to Benue State. So when we see them, like what we are seeing now in Agatu, in Apa, in Okpoku, we have in Kwande, we have in Gwe West, that is Naka, we have in Goma. The kind of people that have come now, those who have seen them, they see them, they don't look like Nigerians, but they have the people, they are working together with those who are Nigerians, and they are coming here. So if we are going to build places for them, I brought the issue of building places because I want to connect that to a situation whereby I see an internal collaboration with these people. Because the same people who are coming to kill us, kill our people, are given special privileges, build places in Benue for people who are not indigenous to us. It looks strange. Meanwhile, our own people who have been displaced through these violent attacks are still in IDP camps. In some places, they are still inconveniencing their relations in their homes. Like in Kwande, they don't have IDP for them, so they live with their in-laws, their brothers, or their relations, far distant relations, and they inconvenience them. But around here, we have IDPs. These people are living in deplorable conditions. When you go to these IDP camps, you shed tears. If you visit Ichwa, you will see people there, and you will shed tears. Human beings are living, 10 families are living in just a 10 feet square touched something that, it is deplorable. So if we don't have a policy direction that is tilted towards accommodating these people, I don't see how the aliens will influence government without people in this country being their own collaborators. Because if you can't build houses, you can't relocate these people back to their places, you can't provide their own security, and you are giving billions of naira to build places for these people, then I don't see that as a normal thing. It is unheard of. Your own citizens are wallowing in very bad living conditions in IDP camps, and then you are trying to settle the people who are coming to kill them in communities with modern houses, schools, clinics, and all those kind of things. So it is unimaginable. So what I'm trying to say is that these external collaborators may have their own collaborators. External aliens who are coming in with sophisticated arms and ammunition have internal collaborators. And if it is not so, I don't see how a government will do a policy to favor people who are coming to destroy their own country and killing their citizens like that. So, to that extent, that is what I see. Now, coming to how it affects Benue, what I have just elaborated is one of the issues that we have to look at. Benue State is at the mercy of these people. In fact, it's just recently that the governor made some pronouncements and took some actions to check this. And the House of Assembly also took some decisions, echoing the fact that there was a subsisting law in this country, in this state, against open grazing. And so maybe these steps that are being taken by the executive and the legislature in Benue, maybe perhaps if the security agencies, which sometimes appear not to be in full control of the state apparatus, the state executive apparatus, maybe we'll have a reprieve and Benue State will be having some relief. Otherwise, if nothing is done, as we had the problem in between 2015 and 2023, then Benue is in for trouble. The influx will be worst hit. The influx of these illegal aliens, these fighters, will be worst hit. Their impact will be worst hit in Benue because Benue appears to be their destination. That is where they want to take over. Because of the nature of climate, the agricultural land, and everything that we have, this is where they want to stay. And so we have to be very careful. We have to be active. We have to understand, Benue have to understand that we are in for trouble. Unless the federal government also takes the side of the government of Benue State, we will be able to have something better.
Because, like you mentioned, previously, the past administration in the state led by former Governor Samuel Otom,
Yes.
whenever he spoke about issues, he would say, these armed invaders are converging from places like Libya, Mali, Niger. He
Yes.
was alleging. And when the presidency proved also by agreeing that they are invaders coming from foreign countries, it became really an issue of worry to many Nigerians. And now we have this same situation with our current governor, who also alleged that the influx is because armed invaders have been invited from Niger. This was when the borders were closed.
Yes.
Now that the borders are opened, what can be done on the part of the state government and the federal government to cushion the effect?
Thank you very much. It is very, very true that the former governor was very, very, very vocal to a point that other political parties felt he was just playing politics with it. But it was the truth. It is now that I think many people realize that whatever he was crying about was the truth, because even the president confirmed it when he said these people are coming from Niger. Now that the borders, back to your question, now that the borders are open, when these people were allegedly brought in from Niger, like the governor said,
Yes.
now that the borders are open, I will reflect back on what I said earlier. If the presidency, that is the federal government, is serious about ending this, they will have to talk to their Nigerian counterpart, the military junta. That collaboration needs to be there at that level. If that collaboration is there and they talk very seriously, then a lot of things can be achieved. Because when the borders were not open, why I said earlier that it is a double-edged sword,
Yes.
was that if you don't handle it very well, you will be grossly affected. But if we use diplomacy and wisdom, then they will be able to curtail the influx of these illegal aliens from that point. Because with good diplomatic agreements between Niger and Nigeria, Niger can check its own borders with Libya and other countries. That is checking the influx of those people in their own country, because they land in Niger before they come down to Nigeria. I know that the Benin Republic and the other countries, we don't have much of that problem, because even in Cameroon, most of them come through Nigeria before they go to Cameroon, or they pass through the axis of Chad, which to a large extent had some issues. So it was Nigeria passing through the northern parts of Nigeria and then going into the Cameroon. So our major area of focus would be that of Niger. So if Niger and Nigeria close their ranks, if they close their ranks, what I mean by that is if the president is able to talk to his Nigerian counterpart, they will be able to reach some agreements and set some policies and strategies in place that will curtail the influx of these people. And if actually some of these people are from Niger. Through that that dialogue, these people can move back. They can be made to go back because they are illegal aliens. They are not, they have entered our country through the illegal processes. So they can be made to go back. But security of this country largely is at the table of the president. If the president wants these issues to end, he will face it squarely. And I'm sure that he will be able to get the right people and the right policies and strategies to end it. But you could notice that I'm not accusing the former leadership, but to a large extent, the leadership of General Muhammadu Buhari, which lasted from 2015 to 2023, paid lip service to the issue of security. They paid lip service to the issue of security. They will talk, but what was happening was as if they were embodying them, they were giving them protection. Because in Benue State here, why the anti-open grazing law started, it started in November 2017. Most of the people who were arrested could not be prosecuted. If the Operation White Stroke, which is a federal government agency, it's not a state government agency, military command. It's not a state government security command. It is a federal government arm. When they arrested people, I do not see when they actually prosecuted these people, these aliens. Most of them were actually confirmed to be aliens, yet they were left off the hook. So I know that if not that the president himself sanctioned it, or he just didn't care about it, then why would people come to a village, kill a lot of people, he's arrested, and he's not prosecuted? He goes free. That was why our former governor was crying all over the place. He cried, and some people felt that he was crying too much. Nobody is told how to cry. When you cry, it is how much you can cry that you can cry. So he cried during his time. But I know that because of maybe the political differences, a lot of things could not take place in our favor. Now I hope that our governor, who once he took over, he went straight to some of the pressing issues in terms of welfare of civil servants and pensioners. He went straight to issues of the poor infrastructure in the state and everything. Now that his attention is coming towards the issue of insecurity, I am sure with the synergy that he has with the federal government, being the same political party, being a governor of APC and then the president, I know that there will be no differences. There will be no insinuations. I know that he will be able to approach the federal government. And I know his strength will come from the federal government. Because, thank God, we have most of these these military agencies here. We have the Air Force. The Tactical Air Command headquarters is here. What surprises me is I've never seen them in action around it, because if they take their jets, their war jets, around the state, they will clamp down on these people. These people are human beings. They are camped in certain places. If they use those jets, they will be able to clamp down on them and we'll have succor. But then, I've not seen that. I see the soldiers and the civil defense operating in the Operation White Stroke, which the foot soldiers alone, it is not very effective because they have their own limits. But when the Air Force and even the Navy join them, I'm sure that they will block all the leakages and they will be able to flush them out of this state.
Okay. So, it's about time now for us to engage with those listening to us. Already we have taken up to the time that we should start taking calls. The number to call is 081-433-59292. 081-433-59292. If you connect with us Tell us your name and where you're calling from. Then
nation. But in terms of security, they are trying. And I know very well the presidents have the capacity to stop the in and out of everything that is doing in Nigeria. Today, if a president says, today all the security challenges should stop, I believe that will stop immediately as he may say. But as we are suffering in Nigeria, in Benue State here, I didn't know how them they are talking about, and I didn't know how hierarchies of government that we sent for the presidential era there. I didn't know how they are talking about it. And coming back to our own locality, we have the highest man who is called the chief. We have the only person. We are waiting for the command of he. He has to set his own security so that he may help us and help those who are suffering. Because if even our own chief here to see may say that today the security challenges in Benue State is becoming too much because Nigeria are not willing to take care of it or look over it, that on particular day, all of them may hear it and they may react about it. So I am very happy for this program, and I thank you for the thank you, the presenters.
okay, thank you very much, Yosende. We appreciate your contribution. Thank you. Yosende is interested in the security aspect of it, that the governor and also the traditional rulers should key in to strengthen security situation in Benue, especially with the reopening of borders. Hello, good morning.
Hello. Well, good morning.
Morning to you. Welcome to the program.
Daniel.
Morning, sir.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Yes.
Okay, Fiasi Mocho. Yes.
Yes, I'm calling you from Akure.
From? You're calling us from where?
From Tennessee.
Okay. Thank you, Fiasi. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. My heart beats for the state that produced 27% of the sugar that feed the country. My heart again bleeds for the state that produced 50% of food condiments that makes food come on our table. They start, we are into what we are because of security challenges. But this needs not to be like this. If some certain approach were put in place. On this note, I want to say we need an SOS, a P. By that, I mean we need serve our soul at P. And this has to be addressed to the president of this country. To understand the challenge we are going through in this country. This is really sad. I sympathize with the community that were affected by this crisis. If you look at this challenge, all the grazing routes that were before, when our population was not up to this, have been overtaken by a lot of activities. And prominent among them is the climate change, which has taken over all the grazing routes. We used to have about 400 and something grazing routes from other states in Nigeria, in the country. But these have been overtaken by a lot of activities, which I've mentioned one. You know, these cows are coming to Nigeria. Let me tell you that they are not even cows. The one we have here is just white manure, which is not even productive, which the meat is not even good. The only thing you can find in the cow is just the leather, which lasts about 17 years when you put them in water. The meat is not good because of the trekking from one place to another. This takes me to the issue of ranching. Yes, we have a law in the state here that has to be strengthened. We have to imbibe the culture of ranching. If subsidy is removed, then in some of all these some of these things, why won't subsidy be removed on cattle rearing in Nigeria? It is a business. If you are removing subsidy, then the person the honey, the person bringing in water, the person bringing in grasses, and the rest needs to get money from this. so that the country will also benefit from this, aside from individual business who are taking over and then doing the killing. I want to also encourage that the treaty, the ECOWAS treaty, which makes migration of cows from other states to Nigeria. You know, these cows are not even coming from only Nigeria, they are coming from Mali, Senegal, and the rest. That has to be amended to prevent it. Because when these cows are being taken into Nigeria, those who are here and then are giving information and when to come and when not to come. These cows, this law needs to be needs really to be amended. And let me tell you now, the technology which has come now, which a lumen of a cow has to be, there has to be a chip that will place in the lumen, and that will be observed by one who is controlling the cow, has to be strengthened. In that sense, cows cannot be moving anyhow in the state and in the country.
Okay.
They need to be regulated on how they will move. Before I end the call, I really wish the country to do the right thing on this issue of killing. These killings are not only in Benin State, they are everywhere.
Okay.
But we are mostly being affected.
Thank you.
Your guests are giving a good background of what is going on. And I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for your contribution, Fiase. We appreciate you too. The ECOWAS Treaty. To what extent is it possible for ECOWAS to also focus attention not just on what is happening in the West African sub-region politically with regards to military dictatorship, but other issues of security too. But we'll come back to that. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Morning to you.
I am called not to do Abraham, calling from Marseille, in way East, standing beside the Kehi.
That's good to know. A vivid description. Thank you, Corner, to do it. Please go ahead.
I must appreciate you for your a good command over selecting topics. I wish to give you a name, the great architect of topics.
Thanks for your kind words, Corner. We appreciate you.
You bring topics that are so interesting and up to date.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, sir.
Thank you,
You are
Corner.
helping humanity. I appreciate the guest in the house. He's doing a wonderful job also. I have a concern. I keep wondering what makes it for, I hear government declare state of emergency in some sectors of the economy sometimes. Let's say education. You declare state of emergency, and I keep wondering what is happening, or what is it that is making our government making it difficult for our government to declare state of emergency on the aspect of security. And I'm still wondering what happens that makes somebody to declare state of emergency in a particular sector of the economy. By the measure of the killings that is going on, it just happened yesterday, the day before yesterday here in Baikor, when several people were macheted. Has it not come to the knowledge of the government that we are under siege? Where do they want it? Which extent do they want it to go before they will wake up? I think we need to declare state of emergency in the area of security in this country. If I am thinking right, I think that is what we need at this point in time. Thank you. I wish to stop here.
Thank you very much, Corner Todwe, for your contribution and passionate appeal. Okay, let's come back to the issue of the ECOWAS Treaty. As we listen to Fiase, is it possible for ECOWAS as a regional bloc to focus attention on security in the West African sub-region beyond what is happening politically, especially as it concerns military dictatorship in some countries? Dr. Onumbe.
Yeah, thank you very much. I know Fiase has raised that issue, and one wonders why.
I beg your pardon. Maybe before you expand your thoughts on that, let's engage with this call, waiting on the line briefly before
Okay.
coming back. Hello, good morning.
Problem.
Hello. Good morning. Oh, okay. Please go ahead.
Okay.
The
So,
call is the voice not
it
coming
is
through.
it is actually disheartening, because when you focus your attention on issue of politics to the detriment of security, which is, without security, you won't have the lives that will play politics. If these countries are overwhelmed by security, then there will be no human being to do politics. So it is actually overwhelming. But policies are made because of the preponderance of opinion of the people that are making those policies. And you will know that it does appear that most of the countries, or those countries that have influence or have a voice in the ECOWAS, maybe most of them are those countries that actually have the issue of cows, or the issue of this issue at the bottom of their hearts. And as such, they feel that when issue of security is taken to such levels, is discussed, and those treaties are changed, they will not be able to move around with their own cattle, and that will not serve their own best economic interest. Perhaps, I'm just thinking, that is why they are unable to take that decision. Otherwise, what we have now around ECOWAS in most of Africa about security is such a situation that, like Corner said, in West Africa itself, they should have advised their own member states to make security, declare a state of emergency on security, so that each country will focus on security and take measures that will finish the problem. But at the level of ECOWAS, if that treaty is reviewed, if it's amended, and they stop the movement of these cattle, then these respective countries will find ways of mitigating the issue of climate change, which has made it difficult for them to take care of their cows in their own respective regions. Perhaps in Nigeria, if Nigeria is serious, in the northern part of the country, where we have indigenous people that have herds of cattle, what stops us from trying to find dams, creating dams that will service the water? And once you have these dams, there will be water, enough water, and you have vegetation all over the place, so that the cows will take care of themselves. In Benue State, there is a law, and this law is very, very beautiful. It has provided for ranching. Ranching of cows is the best modern system of animal husbandry. If you go to Saudi Arabia, if you go to America, if you go to Brazil, you go to other countries, they have more cows than us. That is the policy they're using. They use ranches. You have your ranch, everything about your own animal is within your ranch. You have schools, you have health facilities and other things within the ranch, so that your cattle and the people who are working on this cattle are also taken care of and have no issues. The cattle cannot go outside their ranch to go and disturb other people, destroy their own farms. So that law is one of the best things, the best approaches that Benue State government used in order to curtail this. It is for us to have the backing of the federal government and the commitment of the agencies that we have in the state in order to apply that law as it should. I want to believe that government is a continuum. The policy that is made by one administration, if it is the policy of the people, can continue with another administration. So I want to believe that now that the governor and the state assembly have been echoing this in the minds of the people, that the law against open grazing is in force and they should respect it. I know that in their own end too, they will take practical approaches to prosecute those who are going against this law.
Okay, let's engage with several people waiting on the line, please. Hello,
Okay.
good morning. Hello.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Morning to you.
Yes, I'm Peter Pila. I'm calling from IBB Square.
Peter, your background is very noisy. Before we engage, could you maybe find a more convenient background so speak better?
Okay, sir.
Okay, we are with you, Peter. Please go ahead. Oh, okay. Oh, fine. Maybe he will try to call back because the background is really noisy. Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Morning to you.
My name is Jonathan Chawe.
Okay.
Thank you, Eda Jonathan Echave. Where are you reaching us from, sir?
From North Bank, Woodco Estate.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you for joining us on Perspectives.
Thank you very much. Thank your guest in the studio.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think we are in this country, particularly our government, we are taking the issue of security with high levity. The UN and the US have rated Meiti Allah, the Meiti Nala, the Breeders Association, made up of mostly one, shall I call their nationality, or one tribe, that's the correct word, as the fourth most deadly terrorist group. Here in Nigeria, we're treating them with kids' gloves. I cannot see why IPOD is declared a terrorist group and Meitei Allah is not. We were all here when they owned up that they were the one who sent people to assassinate our previous governor. Nobody arrested anybody. They owned up. They came up and gave a conference, a world conference, where they claimed that they were in Benue Valley before we came, particularly Benue State, before we came into the Benue Valley. They were here before us. Everybody knows the history that is false. If they were here before we came, why would they come to fight us in 1804 when they were defeated at the Oshongo Hills and went back? Everybody knows Danfodio came in when Danfodio came into Nigeria with this group of people. They then said on that international press conference that they have now realized that the only country in the world that God has given to them is Nigeria. And they are going to take over Nigeria by force. I don't know whether our leaders were not listening to these press conferences. And we talk about them with, casuality that surprises me. And about what the lead discussant in the studio said, yes, ranching is the modern way of animal husbandry. My appeal is the federal government should make that law become a national law. You must and give help to the cattle, the animal husbandry people to settle down in one place. It's a win-win situation for them. The animals will not be roaming about. They will be better catered for. their children will go to school, and they will have water and all these things. And lastly, this narrative that is farmer headers crisis is wrong. We are these people are invading us. They come, whether they are the owners or the cows, maybe not, but they hide under the canopy of this cow rearer and come and kill our people in numbers. I think we ought to wake up. And I thank God that the governor has suddenly realized that there is a law banning open grazing here and encouraging ranching, and that he is going to enforce it. And the way he is pursuing development with vigor, let him pursue this law also with that kind of vigor. Because the first priority of any government is the security of life of its citizens and property, security of their property. So that supersedes every other thing.
Thank you very much.
I like what he is doing.
Okay.
He should pay the same kind of attention to this insecurity problem as he is doing with the developmental problems. Other developmental problems.
Thank you.
Thank
sir.
you very much.
Thank you very much for your contribution. We appreciate you. Thank you. Elder Jonathan Ichavi, very avid and passionate in his contribution. Let's talk about the commitment of the ECOWAS, the regional bloc, with regards to tackling terrorism, with President Bola Tinubu as chairman of the regional bloc. Have you seen a demonstration of commitment towards addressing terrorism within the West African sub-region? Just before you we'll come on that very briefly. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How was the program?
Very well.
Well, I was very happy. My name is Sonny.
Your name is who?
Sonny from St. Augustine.
I'm sorry, we're yet to get your name.
My name is Sonny Best.
Okay, Sonny Best. Sonny Best,
Yes,
where are you reaching us from?
From St. Augustine Church.
St.
From
Augustine?
St. Augustine, Democrat.
Okay. Please go ahead, Sonny Best. Is Sonny Best your real name or just some nickname?
That's my business name.
Okay, so okay, so tell us your name, your official name.
Okay, that is my name is Igwe Sunday.
Okay, Igwe Sunday, good enough. Now go ahead, Igwe Sunday.
All right. What I was very happy for this your program.
Thank you,
But
Igwe.
this place I was working here. We have a lot of problem for this kind of cartoon. A lot of those goods where they are moving about, they cause a lot of accidents in this place. So that's why I want to support that the last person that they make a call. Because we have to protect them and guide them up so that they will not be cause a lot of. And again, also, I'm advised that if they can be able to create some of a lot of those where they are like security, individual security, like this local government to local government, if the government can put effort for that, so that let them create some security, so that will be guided, or everybody will get in on the local government, so that will be very good also. So that's my mind.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your contribution, Sunday. Igwe. We appreciate you. Okay, before we took that call, you were to speak to us about the commitment of ECOWAS towards tackling terrorism within the West African sub-region, especially with President Bola Tinubu, our own president, as chairman of the regional bloc.
Yeah. Very frankly, quite very frankly, when he took over as chairman of ECOWAS last year, I think at that level he was overwhelmed with this coup d'etat, especially this one of Niger. And I cannot really place my hands on where they have set up. They have just woken up to the reality that we have a serious security challenge in ECOWAS around the region. I want to believe that perhaps as the year goes by, he will be able to come back to this issue and ginger up the other members so that they can sit up and take serious actions to address this terrorism in West Africa. They may say that they have started this and that, but actually there is no impact yet. So I cannot really say that I have seen serious effort in addressing this. It will be very clear to everyone when they start it. I wish to encourage that since our president is in a country where we are most hit in this issue of terrorism and internal security, he will be the one. And being the chairman of ECOWAS, he will be the one to stand up and ginger up his colleagues to sit up on this. And now that these other members are being welcomed back, I'm very sure that they will be able to do this better. Because most of the challenges that we've had, Mali is mentioned. Most of the people, the aliens that are coming are from Mali. And if the Malian authorities are also on the same page with the rest of ECOWAS, I think he'll be able to do that. But he needs to pick the courage. As a leader, he has to start it so that they can work on it.
Okay. Hello, good morning. Hello. Hello, good morning. Hello. Good morning. Oh, you are on, but we can't hear you. And okay, you mentioned, okay, before I come to you again. Hello, good morning. Hello. All right. You mentioned that he is here the ECOWAS is here to demonstrate the commitment.
Yeah.
And Nigeria is facing the issue of banditry, terrorism, if we get to from the contribution made by Jonathan Ichabe.
Yeah.
Let me come back to that shortly. Hello, good morning. Hello. Oh, goodness. All right. So, with Mietiela declared the fourth deadliest terror group by the UN, and it is a group that is operating in Nigeria, speaking to the media, addressing press conferences, issuing statements. What can be done on the path of ECOWAS? Because the effect is not felt only by Nigeria, but the other West African countries. What can be done with regards to its position as a regional body to address issues of terrorism, focusing particularly maybe on this group?
Yeah. What is expected of ECOWAS? If within the sub-region, a socio-cultural group, which they call themselves a socio-cultural group, the United Nations Organization, which is a global body, has seen they have their own sources, they have their own ways of getting their own facts. If they have pronounced that Mietiela Cattle Breeders Association is the fourth deadliest terrorist group, if they can pronounce that without equivocation, I mean, they are very clear about it, then what ECOWAS should be seen to be doing should be to look into that and prescribe that, take measures so that that organization can be proscribed. Wherever it is operating, it can be proscribed. Because like Elder Chavez said, when IPOB, which is somehow just operating within a small region in the southeast, could be proscribed. I mean, it could be given the tag of a terrorist organization. And Mietiela, which has owned up to many attacks. There was an attack in Goy East here, where 2 reverend priests were killed and many other people. They actually owned up to it. That was in 2018. The ones that attacked our former governor, they owned up to it. There are so many attacks like that. I have countless number of attacks that they have actually owned up. We've seen letters that they have written on social media claiming this attack or that and giving reasons why they have attacked. So to that extent, there is no way our country, our leaders will look at the other way and ignore them. But like I said earlier, the former president looked at this organization. I don't know the reason that he had, but he took it with kid gloves, like Eda Chavez said. The issue of security completely was ignored by that president. And these people who were the key actors in this insecurity situation in the country were left off the hook. Most of their members who were arrested in one place or the other, suddenly they were released without any prosecution. So that is what has been happening. With President Tinubu coming on ground, I know Tinubu is not a member of Mietiala. The other one was the patron of Mietiala, and so maybe that is why he was unable to do that. But we expect that President Tinubu should have the courage. He has demonstrated courage in many aspects of our national life. The removal of subsidy is the most courageous thing. I am not commending, but it's one of the things that if you don't have courage, you will not be able to do. It's a policy that you can only do it if you have the courage and the guts. He did it. He went into the forex exchange system and took other courageous decisions. He has done many other things. What is stopping him in taking a courageous decision in the insecurity situation? He can prescribe the organizations that we see, which the UN, Nigeria is not above, he's a member, he's a signatory to UN protocols. So if the UN has declared that an organization within your country is a terrorist organization, it behoves on the president to direct the security agencies to do the needful. Let this organization, the leaders should be prosecuted. Let them be investigated and prosecuted so that we can curtail that kind of thing. But nothing is done. I expect that he should be the one to move that motion in ECOWAS so that ECOWAS can tackle other smaller terrorist organizations within ECOWAS so that we can ramp out terrorism in West Africa. I do think that that is the right way, the right thing that should be done. And then I'll quickly comment on what Elder said.
Okay.
The issue of ranching is sacrosanct. It has so many advantages. When you go to Saudi Arabia, you have a cow that produces milk. One cow produces milk that 10 cows, local cows in Nigeria, cannot produce in a day, just one cow. Because they are fattened, they have the best environment, they eat well, and they give you results. So instead of having 1,000 cows to get a particular amount of meat, and you have just 100 cows who will give you the same amount of milk and meat. So it's a huge advantage. If not because of using it, like he said, as a cover to inflict injury on people and then take their lands, it is not agreeable that one should insist in roaming with cows thousands of kilometers instead of having it in a ranch. When such a privilege is given, you have to take it. I'm aware that during the Jonathan administration, he gave 100 billion to this organization, this Mietiala organization, that they should take this 100 billion and develop ranches across their states so that they will be able to have their cows and develop a sedentary lifestyle for themselves and for their cows. But they didn't take it. Just in the same that the issue of Al-Manjiri was rejected in the northern states of Nigeria. But that is a story for another day. So I do believe that there are vested interests that are even supporting these terrorist organizations in this country. And those of them are in government. And this is why it is so difficult for government. Maybe for political correctness, they don't want to step on toes. And so they are unable to take a decisive decision on these issues. But there's no way we can beat about the bush and get the answers. We need to take the bull by the horns, tackle these elements, these actors. We know them. There is, I think there's one senator who said he has knowledge of all the people who are in government that are even supporting some of these criminal organizations. There was one that mentioned Boko Haram and other things, other organizations, that people in government are part of those organizations. So the Miyetti Allah is the same thing. So it is better for our government, if they really want to help our people, to go against these organizations and letting us stop at our internal security situation. He should move to ECOWAS and convince other states in ECOWAS to move in and proscribe those organizations in their own respective states.
Okay, let's take some messages before we come back. This one says, good morning, Mr. Nathaniel Nongo. For me, the president has not demonstrated this enough zeal and tenacity to solve the issue of porous borders and by extension, insecurity. Please help me ask our guest in the studio, is it a crime to build barricade all around our porous borders to prevent the free influx of these criminals? Then for us in Benue, I will urge the governor to be more proactive on handling security issues. He alone cannot end insecurity. Therefore, he needs to close ranks with all the relevant stakeholders, including traditional and church leaders, to collectively end the menace of insecurity in our state. Austin Tekola from High Level in Makurdi. Thank you, Austin. We'll also respond to your question shortly. Hello, good morning.
Hello?
Thank you, Adam Balkan. Where are you reaching us from?
I didn't follow from the beginning. I don't even exactly know the topic, but since I can hear, it's your head out.
We are discussing.
Malaysia, I want to just repeat myself.
Let me tell you the topic.
Hello?
Let me tell you the topic.
Okay.
We are discussing Nigeria's regional diplomacy with President Bola Tinubu as chairman of ECOWAS. Also, the issue of the reopening of the Nigeria and Nigerian border and how it concerns security situation in the country and Benue. These are the issues we are focusing on.
Very well. Earlier this morning, I was saying on another radio that Nigeria does not really know the position in which she is, because the whole of this planet, what you call continent of Africa, we are the most privileged. This oil that we have played around with for many years, looting it and dumping it in Europe and America, and then many years after you are struggling to return it, they think it's a joke. The white man, I remember late Wantale Paul Unongu said deliberately the British decided to create the North to be larger than the South, because he wanted a situation where before the Southerners, who were more educated and enlightened and ahead, before they take leadership, they will have to convince the North. So if you extend that North to Niger and further to the Mediterranean Sea, you will know that Nigeria is not supposed to be playing hanky-panky with our resources and throwing people around, especially we leaders who carry billions. So, I remember General Gowon recently told President Tinubu that he needs to open that border. Because if he does not, the pain that will be exerted on those people, we Nigerians are not yet experiencing anything. No. Some of them, that desert you are seeing it, is just, I went to Niger as a 15-year-old boy. I know what it looks like. So if we do not assist them, by the time their wrath begins to descend on Nigeria, it will be more difficult. And already Nigeria itself is hardly cohesive enough. We are all discussing Igbo, we are discussing Yoruba. Then when we finish, we start discussing cocaine and all manner of looting. So we will not be able to withstand it. So it's better for us to take a more softer diplomatic position with these people, because it is the pain that made their people to reject colonial from France and co. So okay. Nigeria needs to just wake up. We just need to know that we are responsible. We call ourselves the giant of Africa. So we must be looked upon as people who will set the pace for decency on the planet. Not rascals themselves leaders, just treating themselves somersaulting from here to there, talking for foreign investors. Who is investing what? Those people they want jobs in their own country. They only come and exploit the mineral resources raw. Take it and go and use it. Give their sons and daughters jobs. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam Walker. Thank you for your contribution. We appreciate you. Let me take one more message, and I'll come back to you, Dr. Onumbe. This one says, security is not an individual task, although a diplomatic maneuver that must be done international, particularly in the West African sub-region, Pan-Africa, and the world, as this will enhance democratic movement, trade, and investment around the globe. If His Excellency President Tinubu's led administration is to reopen borders or otherwise, he is worth amiable by the desirability of ECOWAS leaders that one sought the strengthening of the African economy. I think there's something is missing there.
Yes.
Isaac Utsoa from EA in Goma. Isaac, thank you. Well, we try to make sense of your message. Thank you. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
My name is Jogundu.
Thank you, Jogundu. Please make your submission very brief.
I'm calling from Yajohi and Makidi.
Okay. Thank you.
I want to say categorically that opening of border between Nigeria and Niger is a very good thing. But the problem we have in Africa on general note is that it doesn't put good policies in place before at times implementing them. What is the diplomatic agreement between Niger and Nigeria before the borders are being reopened? If you look at it very well, most of them are Muslims, or they are Fulanis or Hausas, and they have total support of the Northerners who are cattle rearers, just like them. Once there's any problem in Nigeria, they just come down from Niger through Nigerian border down here to come and support their brothers in order to carry out some nefarious activities. So I think our president now, President Tinubu, being the chairman of ECOWAS, I think he needs to talk to the Nigerian government very well so that the agreement will be reached between the two countries. That whosoever or the citizens that air such agreements will be punished. And I think at another level is that forming ECOWAS was a kind of a very good idea. But we Africans, we will have good policies. And once we get there, we try to throw them away. I think forming ECOWAS was to check all those people who were and are leading us in Africa as our president. But so that once a president begins to err, they will then come together to correct that president so that there will be good administration in African region. But that upon they left such things, that you will see a president imposing himself on a throne for over decades, and they will sit there and be looking at it. Then when a coup comes in, they will rise up and then begin to condemn such a situation. So I think they should change too. They should have diplomatic discussions. They should have laws on ground so that even if any president begins to go delay, then they will chip in quickly to correct anomalies. And apart from that, in Africa, hoodlums have more sophisticated weapons than the security. Why? It is the government that has the money, has the resources, and everything. Why would the hoodlums will go and be capable of possessing these arms that our government cannot have that money to do that? So, as the analyst in the studio is saying, it has become so begging that it is as if people who are leading us are having cattle in Nigeria. People who are leading us are supporting the illegality. So that's the reason why things cannot go on right in this country. If not, we have the manpower and everything. Then why are we not fearing God? Because it's a saying that fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. It seems that most of our leaders do not have God in their mind, and we the led. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jogundu. I appreciate you. Our time is really going, and that's the last call we accommodate today. But Dr. Onumbe, I will request you to react in 1 minute to some of the concerns raised by Jogundu, and also Austin Tekula from High Level sent a text here and is asking us, is it a crime to build barricade around our porous borders to prevent free influx of these criminals? I'm quoting his words. Let's begin with Austin's question, and then you react to Jogundu briefly on some of the issues. Then we'll give our concluding words to finish on the problem.
Okay, Austin, thank you very much for your concern and for joining us here. Well, when you talk of barricades, you use resources. And if we have issues that need only political muscle and policies, but our people are not ready to do it, then you talk about building barricades, then you are asking $1 million question. But it is good if we are able to do that. I know President Trump wanted that kind of policy between America and Mexico, building a wall so that we can block it. It's a fantastic idea.
But within the ECOWAS sub-region, where the ECOWAS itself is talking about regional integration, don't you see that it will further disintegrate the countries within the West African bloc?
Well, having a border doesn't make it impossible for you to move. It's not as if we have one single country. No. Having a border between one political entity and the other, you will still be able to have those where you can move to those countries and come back. Okay. Especially when you see that such situation is very serious. It's affecting you seriously.
Okay.
And then coming down to
Joe Gundu.
Yes. He made a very valid point, which I need to speak briefly about it. He is talking about trying to check our political leadership, checking them before calamity occurs, not allowing them to sit tight, not allowing them to do policies that will later jeopardize their political institutions or democratic system, like what has happened in Niger, Mali, and the rest. He is trying to see that maybe ECOWAS was unable to, in the first place, check the attitudes of these political leaders and the sit-tight syndrome that has become the norm in Africa, that made these leaders to become that people did not like them again, and so they had to be pushed away by the military system. So he is saying that ECOWAS should sit up, should try to look at the activities of these political leaders in the ECOWAS sub-region so that they will curtail instability from the board.
Dr. Numve, give us your parting words. Now that with the security situation and the reopening of the borders, what can be done by security agencies, especially those that are responsible around the border areas, customs, immigration service, and then the other core security formations for us here in Benue State too? 30 seconds.
I want to very, very seriously advise the president to meet urgently with his Nigerian leader. Meet them so that they can sit together. I know somebody asked, why did they not meet before opening the border? But that was beyond Nigeria because it was an ECOWAS policy that in the first place blocked the border. So they had to do that. So Nigeria has to now meet, have a diplomatic discuss with the Nigerian leadership so that certain things can be agreed upon. And apart from that, Nigeria needs to deploy our security, not just the customs and immigration. We need other forms of security, even the military, around those borders so that serious check can be done in order to prevent what should not happen to our country. The people who are coming here who are not needed should not come. And then let the president declare a state of emergency on security in Nigeria so that the illegal aliens in our country will be flushed out. Let them be arrested in their own enclaves and flown back to their respective countries where they come from. We don't need them here in the country. Thank you very much.
Dr. Raymond Anomve is a political scientist and founder of Dr. Ray Anomve Foundation. He joined us here on Perspectives, which will discuss Nigeria's regional diplomacy. We must appreciate you, Dr. Anomve, for sharing your valuable insights with us on the program.
Thank you, Nathan.
Dear listener, this is where we draw curtains on today's edition of the program. We appreciate your listenership and contributions through phone calls and text messages. We couldn't take all the calls because the time was not really enough for us. I hope you'll bear with us. Join us again for another edition of Perspectives next week, Monday. God keeping us. My name is Nathaniel Nongo. Have yourself a great weekend. Goodbye.